Had to show this off. Can't believe I have this. So yeah, I'm gonna do more on my rant about Pokemon. I should probably try to collect my thoughts, but it's hard to collect my thoughts. My thoughts just keep going and going. So I really am frustrated with the imbalancing of the types. Because the basic concept, I think, is great. And that's what roped me into Pokemon. Water beats fire. Fire beats grass. Grass beats water. It's a little, like, triangle. I know what a triangle is. It's water beats fire beats grass beats water. Like, cool triangle, right? Perfect. Great. You could have made that the whole game. The whole game could have been 3 types. But then they wanted more, of course. So there's other types. There's electric. Electric also beats water. Water's weak to 2 things. Like, well, so something else should have probably also beat fire. Like, oh, well, it's going to be a ground type. It's going to beat electric and fire. Okay. I think grass will resist it. Like, grass will be... And grass will resist electric. Oh, grass is sounding pretty good. Oh, hold on. Grass sounds a little too good. It's also going to be weak to flying, poison, bug, and ice. Yeah, take that, grass. Well then, yeah, there's going to be a rock type. Why is there a rock in it? There just is. There's a rock, and there's a ground, and yeah, that also beats fire. But grass will beat those things. Water can also beat those things. And water, they get ice moves too. They can just like all get Ice Beam and Blizzard, which beats grass. Should probably, since grass is bad on fire and like weak to fire, should probably maybe give grass like ground moves. No, let's not do that. Should we give maybe like fire electric moves? No, let's not do that either. They pretty much forever messed up the type chart. Like, I don't think water types should have ever got ice moves. And I think grass is way too many weaknesses. I would drop. Grass shouldn't be weak to ice. I know everyone's like, oh, plants beat up. Everything would be weak to ice. Why isn't bug weak to ice if it's that cold? Plants are able to survive a winter. It's not cold that hurts them. It's the lack of sun that eventually kills them, but they all tend to survive it. Like, I don't know if you've ever like lived through a winter, but all the plants don't die. So I don't think it ever should have been weak to ice. And everyone's like, oh, it hurts ice. Like, look, it's a whole mess. It needs a lot of rebalancing. I would also probably drop the weakness to flying. Because again, wind is a thing, and wind doesn't like get rid of them. Oh, it's supposed to be birds. But, like, it's not wind, it's bird. Okay, flying type is basically bird and wind combined. But birds also don't beat grass, but like they eat the seeds in the plants. They don't like kill it. Even woodpecker, like they don't destroy the plant. So also like bad. And between rock and ground, I probably would have done like ground is weak to grass and rock is weak to water, not doubled it up like that. You know? Maybe they could have shared like one, but I still just unnecessary. Fire being weak to both of them, like that one I guess I'll give them because fire only has the water, rock, and ground weakness. Like that's fine. But there's just so much that like they didn't balance, and then not thinking about like giving certain moves to things. Just every water type gets ice attacks. It's just wild to me. And they didn't think to do like the basic 3, didn't think to balance them, because pretty much in most games that makes water the best starter, just because it's like the best type. So you don't really need to worry about using fire types. Fire types are usually often like pretty cool, Pretty cool type. I am more of a grass type starter. Really, like, pretty much committed to it for the most part. Because I do like Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur is my first ever Pokemon. I like Bulbasaur, Venusaur. And Meganium's fine. Like, nothing wrong with Meganium. It's not, like, the Johto starters to me were not interesting. They weren't more interesting than the original three. I feel like they should have just reused the original three again. I didn't see any issue with it. Or done something different type chart wise. I know there was rumors for a while that like they were going to do like a fighting dark psychic thing and get away from it. That would have been great. Should have done that. But Sceptile, another great one. Blaziken. The Gen 3 ones are pretty good. I say like the Gen 1 starters are great. The Gen 3 starters are also like really good. I've just never got in like, oh, do you like Mudkips? I've never gone in on that one. Like, I don't hate it though. Like, it's a decent and like kind of like fun. Like, it's water ground. That's neat. Something neat about that. It's a decent water ground, like a Quagsire. So Gen 3 is pretty good. Gen 4 actually also pretty good starters, but I do not like Chimchar, Infernape. Like, also, first of all, like, we just had firefighting. Like, right, like, Blaziken, like, hello? Also, like, I don't know, it became like a monkey, like, and it just became a bigger monkey. Like, if it was maybe, like, a big gorilla, like a, you know, there's a Yu-Gi-Oh card, like Berserk Gorilla or something like that, where it's, like, spit and fire, and just big, angry, like, King Kong looking thing. I still wouldn't have wanted it to be fighting. But Torterra, like, grass ground, interesting, like a tortoise, down with that. Empoleon, it's like it's the first time I picked and committed to a water starter, because steel type, love steel type. Gen 5 would have been what? I don't even remember the water type. I know it's like some sort of like walrus-esque thing. It's just pure water. And then what, a snake, which is cool they did a snake. I like they did a grass type snake, but I just was never that into it. I know a lot of people said it should have been dragon, like probably. I think they're scared of making a starter dragon type, but like why not? And then yet again, third in a row, firefighting, and it's a big old pig thing. The design of it's okay, but yeah, those ones, like, I don't think it's as well rounded as like Bulbasaur, Charmander, Squirtle. Like those three, like all three of them, just they're great, and they're kind of similar enough where like it is a rough pick. Like you have to pick based on the type, because it's like, oh well, that's a cool dinosaur looking fire thing. That's a cool dinosaur looking plant thing. That's a cool turtle, but water. You know, you have to pick. Everyone's gonna be like, Venusaur's a toad and a dinosaur. Shut up. I don't care. They're Pokemon. Then, alright. I start to lose track of I definitely dropped off Gen 6. I didn't play X or Y. Didn't appeal to me. I didn't have a 3DS at that time to play one anyway. I still have my fat DS. So I hadn't like moved on to be able to play it. But that was an interesting concept when they started dabbling in like jobs where it's like Greninja is like a ninja, Delphox is like a mage, Chestnut, whatever it's Chestnut, I don't know. That one, the mammal based, once they got off like sort of reptile based grass starters, I don't like that. That's probably what made me lose interest in playing X and Y, was the grass starter just being so out there looking. I guess it's like the warrior or whatever, because they're kind of doing the holy trio. But then what would be next? Gen 7, what was that? Like the owl, the cat, and the like mermaid, the seal mermaid, which was those were good typings. I'm glad they made a bird that wasn't flying. Like they did it 3 times, which is great. Like they did it for Blaziken, they did it for Empoleon, they did it for Rowlet. I'm glad that they're not flying, you know, like that's important to be like, I hate when it's automatic, like, well, it's in the water, it should be a water type. oh, it's a bug and it has wings. It should be flying type. It's like, okay, you need to not with that. Like, you can make these things other things. I just fell into talking about the starters. I guess I got to commit to finishing because I'm not gonna remember Gen 8 or 9 now. But Gen 7 was it Sun and Moon? There was a decent variety. I do wish that they wouldn't do like the weird like jobs things. Like, oh, it's a ghost owl grass with a bow and arrow, so it's a ranger, and then like I don't even know the names. The names start to lose me. I'm just, you know who I'm talking about, like Lytton, whatever, the fire dark. Oh, he's a heel instead of a face, like a wrestling thing. Like, that's cute, I get it, but like the belt, like, would have been cool if he was on all fours. Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to remember the other starters. I know at some point they did a grass gorilla, but he's like got like hair and stuff, and he plays drums. I'm like, okay, that's not for me. I'm not into that. Completely started to lose. There's the weird like kind of gecko guy that does these like the water one. This is probably like when someone's mom talks about Pokemon. Like, do you know Pokemon? Are you familiar? I know there's like an alligator thing, fire alligator, at some point. So I never played 8 or 9. I stopped at Sun and Moon. I still do like Pokemon Showdown. So I know 9 a little bit, but like not like a lot of it. But I know they've kind of like retreaded typing. They're kind of at that point where it's like, well, we should probably just do some more pure this, pure that, because we've kind of been there, done that. People really didn't like it when they did 3 fire fightings in a row. Like, oh, that was exhausting. I didn't want to edit this, but I'm like, I should look up the other starters so I can wrap up my starter talk. But I had wished for a long time that they would have just... I'm getting close to the camera. It's almost like ASMR. I wished for a long time. I wished upon a star that they would have just dropped the fire, grass, and water type up. That, it was played out. It was fun, but we didn't need it. But now at this point, it's tradition, and they shouldn't stop doing it, because if they stop doing it now, it's kind of weird. It's kind of like, why'd you stop now? Like, we were expecting more of this, and now you're not gonna do it. Like, we need you. We needed you, and you didn't even do the thing. Oh, I looked it up. I'm way off. Why didn't the bunnies was with the gorilla and the guy, and then there was the alligator guy, and then there was the dancing duck. And then the Meowsker. Okay, I'm done talking about starters. Let's get into the Eevee evolutions, huh? Something I do love is the Eevee evolutions. People ask me about my favorite Pokemon. Some people kind of expect me to like the ghost and spooky ones, which I do. Umbreon is definitely one of my favorites, but I also really like shiny Espeon, because it's green, it's like neon green, feels like it goes with my Cybergloth look. It's also like a really good sweeper. Like, Psychic has gone like up and down. Psychic is like super dominant in Gen 1 because it has like no counters, nothing resists it except Psychic. Beedrill, not fast enough, also weak to Psychic. Has Twin Needle, but not gonna cover it, so Psychic just destroy. There's a lot of poison types. It just destroys. Gen 2, much more balanced because now they have Dark. They have some Ghost attacks. Some strong normal Pokemon get Ghost attacks, so they can Shadow Ball, and so Psychic's much more balanced there. Kind of took a hit because of how much like rebalancing. Megahorn, Heracross, all this stuff. Gen 3 is still really more balanced. I think Gen 3 is one of the most balanced gens overall. I think all the people working on it, making it, kind of like type-wise and everything. 4 or 5, 6, like it's going to get away, but like I just know Psychic's going to have done. I've always liked Psychic type. Mr. Mime was one of my favorites. Mew, Mewtwo, like super powered. So like Espeon like was one of the Psychic types that I really liked. It didn't feel like weird. It just felt correct. Like its eyes and everything. Then Shiny Espeon. I tried so hard as a kid. So hard. I did the glitch to get the Shiny Ditto using the Shiny Gyarados with Mimic and stuff, and tried to breed it with an Eevee, and I tried so hard to get a Shiny Eevee that way, and I never did it, because like I guess I read wrong advice. It's like, oh, you're supposed to breed one and then breed. It'll breed faster if you do that, and it's like all this stuff. And I probably was doing it wrong. Like I should have just committed to like an Eevee from a different game, the Shiny Ditto, and just like did that. Never got one. I so badly wanted one. Never happened. When I got Gen 3, eventually I got like a Game Shark and I got them. But it's like I never got them on the cartridges Gen 2. And those batteries, I probably need to get them redone. But really going off on a tangent here. I don't. If you saw that other video, I had like a battery warning. I was like, yeah, but Espeon's fast, hits hard. Its move pools, because it's an Eevee evolution. Eevee evolution move pools are kind of, if it doesn't get TMs, you can't breed moves onto it. But like Gen 1 and 2, when Dark was special base, like it gets that, so that's nice. You get Bite. So it had another special attack on top of, psychic moves or hidden power. Then like Gen 4 opens things that's all crazy in Gen 4 or 5 and so on. But like Shiny Espeon, it does a lot of neat stuff. Like Umbreon's so good, like in competitive and everything. Like it's just insanely good. Like in games, Espeon's so good. So it's like I really like both of them. I don't want people to think I'm like I'm super about Umbreon, because I also like Magnezone. It's like a UFO robot thing. Like it's all gender neutral and metal and weird. Cubone kind of feels obvious. But getting off the Eevee evolution, I really like the Eevee evolutions when I was a kid, because like it could become other things. I like things that can do other things. Like some of my favorite, my favorite power is having other powers, like Rogue's powers or Mega Man or Blue Mage. So Pokemon does have that. It has Smeargle, who I do like, but Smeargle's also like he's too derpy. He's too like fragile. Like using him. I do like messing around with Smeargle because like it's any move pool. He's like a painter, which there's neat stuff to it. It's like that's a little not exactly what I mean. But Eevee being able to become mutating into a water type, mutating into an electric type or fire type, favorites. Like those became my favorite: water, fire, and electric. Just straight up. Oh, I really liked electric when I was a kid. I still like it now. The Vaporeon's really neat. Not gonna go there. Really neat though, like how it's this combination of like mammal and like reptile and all that, and it's tanky. It's got like high HP. It does really interesting stuff in the game mechanics, and it's it's interesting looking. Pokemon gets acid armor. They kind of like dug deeper. Like what would this Pokemon do? And there's so much synergy to its design, its typing, and its adapting to an environment, so its move pool is interesting. Jolteon's same way, where it's a spiky looking fast Pokemon, so it gets these electric moves, and then it looks like it's got strong legs, so they gave it like double kick, and they gave it pin missile. Oh, it's so great. And then there's Flareon. Flareon kind of goes back to, they gave every water type ice moves, and then they didn't give every grass Pokemon like ground moves, and every fire Pokemon electric moves. Like, it makes sense. I get it that they're balancing. Like, maybe water should have another weakness, and then fire gets that. Like, maybe water's weak to poison, and then fire types tend to get poison. Oh, but you made like every grass type poison. Like, well, maybe you shouldn't do that. But yeah, Flareon is not quite there with the move pools and everything. Like, I guess its idea is it really combusts, gets really hot, and I guess there's like gas or smoke. But then its stats just aren't there. Like, you should take Espeon stats. Like, it's fast and it has really high special attack. It's like, okay, give that to Flareon, and really fast, really high attack, which is fine. I get this is before the physical special split. You can keep its 130 attack, but then don't make it a mixed attacker. Like, make it 110 speed, 130 attack. What's the next highest one? Like 90? Maybe give it 90 defense? I forget the EV stat spread until it gets into this. Then it's like 60s for everything. Remember, I'm like, that's fine. That would be fine if it was the more like physical defensive sweeper. While Espeon, they didn't do that. Leafeon and Glaceon, oh my god. Very upset with them being, what's the word term? Weathermons. Because I'm a big grass fan, and then Leafeon's just not there. They made him like physical and defense, but then you need Sunny Day. And let me get to Glaceon and I'll come back. Glaceon's neat because it's evasion based and snow based, and snow's a little bit better than the issues with sun and water. But I do wish they did something different with them other than making them weather based. I like evasion mons. We'll get back to that. So let's go to the issues I have with rain and sun. So rain, yet again, really great for water because it makes water stronger, makes them also for some faster, and then the sort of disadvantage water has to look out for is thunder is 100% accurate. Like, ooh, look out putting your water types in because then thunder is going to hit. If they have thunder. Well, in sunny weather, though, you have to look out because Solar Beam doesn't have a delay. Okay, but the fire moves are like double strength, 50% more. Like, oh, okay. But grass types get all those other advantages. But fire is gonna like the balance isn't there. Is what I'm saying. Is I feel like water type should have been hit by like double damage from electric moves, or electric moves should have had like hugely increased crit rate during rain, because that way water has to be more careful about being in the rain. Like, you get these advantages, but then there's disadvantages. But it just seems like they just get advantages. So yeah, during sunny weather, the healing moves are better. It's like salt, but it's not the same because you're splitting. It felt so much like you're splitting. Sun is really good for fire and grass, and they have to like balance it. Whereas water, it's like it's good for water and it's good for electricity. And it's like it's not there. So when they made Leafeon a weather-based one, I was like, oh, I'm not into that. I'm not vibing with it. I don't mind Glaceon as much because Hail doesn't have those issues. It's more like Sandstorm, and I think Evasion is cool. Evasion is one of my favorite things in Pokemon. Cacturn gets Sand Veil. Veil. Yeah, Veil. It's a little tiny thing. Which is Evasion. Bright Powder I think is cool. And then all these competitive things like Bandit. I'm like, there's a lot of tools to deal with it, and I think they should make that part of their meta. But that's not my thing, I guess. I don't decide the meta of other people's games, but I think there's enough stuff to lower evasion, never hit moves. Because it's like, everyone's going to run Thunder because of the Rain Dance teams. Like, no. Is everyone going to run Shockwave because of possible evasive Pokemon? Like, maybe this is the way it should balance. Like, maybe the people that prepare and are able to deal with high evasive Pokemon beat them. The people that don't. I understand in the earlier gens, it's everyone gets double team, it gets stupid. If you just sit there and both double team, you're just rolling dice. Like, it's not fun. But I think there's enough later on between setting up and taking things down, like all the stuff you can do, that something with a little bit more evasion, if it learns double team by level up or minimize, like it should be allowed to have it. I get double team being on everyone is kind of stupid. It's kind of crazy. But they do all these rules and everything. Like, no, you're able to kind of check if something learns something by level up or a breeding move, etc. So, let Pikachu and Scyther have it. But yeah, but Leafeon, Glaceon, I wish they kind of did something. Glaceon's the one I end up kind of liking more out of those two, even though Leafeon's a grass type and I tend to like grass types. The design of Glaceon just kind of works better. It looks like an ice type, whereas Leafeon doesn't really look like a grass type. It looks mutated, which I appreciate, but it doesn't feel like those two were the same kind of design of the original three. The way they kind of explored how a Pokemon mutating would react to its environment and get unique, interesting stuff. Because Umbreon and Espeon just basically are mirrors. They kind of do similar things. Where you're getting the same healing move, or getting never miss Swift and Feint Attack, and the not escaping thing is interesting of Umbreon, Mean Look, and then Psyching Up for Espeon. There's Sylveon. Sylveon I think is fine. I like Sylveon just fine. Really high special defense. Spadef. Someone was calling you say Spadef. Yes, Spadef. Special defense, Spadef. I like special defense. It's another one of my favorite stats. When I play video games and stuff, I love to have, if there's different damage types like that, if there's a physical or magical or special in Pokemon, I want to be the one that resists the magic damage, or the special damage. So I like things that was high Spadef in Pokemon generally. A lot of my favorite Pokemon are speed stat dumped. But Sylveon also doesn't feel like it's in line with the original three of the responding to mutation. It's more like Umbreon and Espeon. I like it's a little bit more traditional. Q-Charm's fine too. I know it has something charm related to its Pixelate hidden ability, but there's nothing about it. They did that one right, and I do kind of hope they at some point do another Eevee evolution. I don't necessarily want to have all of them. I know some people oh, they gotta do fighting and bug and flying. No, they don't. Those three, I'm specifically, I'm fine. And I don't need rock and ground. Maybe one of them. Maybe, I would prefer ground. Because poor rock type, too fragile, weak to too many things. Rock shouldn't be weak to so many things. Knock off that fighting weakness. And again, knock off the grass weakness. I fixed rock type there. Make it resist maybe one more thing. Maybe it should resist itself. I'd like a steel Eevee evolution. That would be cool. Dragon I'm on the fence on. It'd be neat, but I don't know if it needs it. Ghost, probably not. But a steel one and a ground one could be cool. Maybe a dragon one. I don't know. Do something interesting. Go back to the original three and look at the mutating and into its environment and stuff. Although that segues me into the energy types of the card game. I don't know the card game too well, but I always wonder, is it too late to change the type chart? People know it, and they change it sometimes. Steel type originally resisted Ghost and Dark. Now it doesn't resist them anymore. So that's kind of opened things up a little bit more. If it's a Steel Ghost, it's weak to Ghost, or Steel Psychic, it's weak to, Ghost. I'm okay, that's probably good that they did that, to kind of keep things from Steel getting too powerful. It resists a lot of things. But they never got rid of Steel type, so I know they introduced more. It still feels like Dark and Steel are the new types to me. They're 24 years old at this point, and I still feel like they're new. And a lot of my favorite Pokemon are Dark and Steel type. So I know the card game added them, and the card game eventually added Dragon as a type and Fairy as a type, and I know they eliminated Fairy at some point. They went, okay, this is no longer a type, and they started putting the Fairy types in with the Psychic types, and they put the Poison types out of Grass into the Dark types. And I'm okay, this sounds reasonable, because I guess there was getting too many types in the card game. could they readjust things? Like, I don't want them like straight up like eliminating types. Like, I just want them to sort of modify things here and there. Maybe at some time I'll have to post my like type chart changes idea, because I know Dragon was getting insane for a while. Like, Dragon was beating too many things. One of my favorites, Hydreigon. I can say these things out loud. The Dark Dragon, the three-headed one from Black and White. Love that thing. I bred so many of those, making different move pools for him, using it on the subway. And then he becomes ×4 weak to Fairy. It's like, oh, I still love him. He's still my favorite. I'm just going to look out for Fairy types. But man, he was just dominating, and then Fairy type just curb stomp, changed everything. And I don't think Fairy's balanced well. I think, it made Psychic a little bit more relevant by proxy of hurting Dark type. So Psychic has more room to breathe because Fairy exists as a type. But I still think Fairy probably should have been weak to Psychic. Psychic for sure should have resisted Fairy. I'll allow Psychic to switch in on Fairy moves. Because Psychic has like no resistances. Like, it resists itself in fighting. It doesn't even resist poison, and it beats poison. It's like, hey, wait a minute. Maybe. But I at this point almost feel like we need another type to help balance Fairy type. Because Fairy's only weak to poison and steel, and there's no like good trio. Like, think of these trios, like the triangle. Like, Fairy beats Dragon beats Dragon, like that doesn't help. Oh, well, Fairy beats Dark beats Psychic beats, nope, Psychic doesn't beat Fairy. Okay, well, Fairy beats Fighting beats Steel beats Fairy. There you go. But like, I think that's the only one. You can't get any other, because Poison beats Fairy beats... What beats Poison? Ground, Psychic? Yeah, like, they screwed up. I think they should have had Psychic in there. Maybe there was too many of these types and stuff, but Fairy's just dominating. The whole immune to Dragon thing, like, what a hard counter. Like, okay. They'll never do Light type. I've been wanting it for forever. That's like my type, is Light. I like Light. That's one reason I like Espeon. Espeon's kind of a light adjacent Pokemon. I like Ampharos, Volbeat, Lantern. I like the light adjacent. Electric's close. I like a holy type as well. Like in Digimon, I like Angemon. In Yu-Gi-Oh, I use a lot of light types. I had like a light deck. Wingweaver. It's one of my favorite monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh. Or I use like the light-based, wizards and things like that. Like, Pokemon ever have like a light type, and Dark type's not shadow type. It's actually evil type. It's underhanded. It's sneaky. It's dishonorable the way they fight. So I understand that it's like you don't need a light type to counter Dark type. And if they did a light type, I would say it would actually be best if they were neutral to each other. They shouldn't interact. One shouldn't beat the other. Like, which I think is also reasonable and fair that they would be neutral, even if you see it as like light and dark. Like. But I don't think they'll ever do it because it might tread too much on Electric type and Fairy at this point, because Fairy has some luminescent ones. Shinotech, the Grass Fairy Mushroom, that's actually one of my favorites as well. Like, Illuminate, all these things, I'm like, they're close, and a lot of them are my favorite Pokemon, but yeah, there's no light type. There's no sound type. I don't know, would light type beat Fairy type? Like, would they interact? Like, could they do an alien type? Like, I don't know. I don't know if they'll ever do a new type at this point. I hope they do. And like maybe like 2 more. I don't know, just because it helps jazz things up a little bit, makes it more exciting, but I don't know what they can add that would make sense. I mean, could they split flying into bird and wind at this point? That's boring. That's not exciting. Fairy type was like exciting. Steel, dark, like those were exciting new types. But I think we are due for a new type to sort of jazz things up. Could we have a robot type? Like, I don't know. We have some robots now. Like, how much retconning? Because people get Ooh, I used to really like Mr. Mime, and Mr. Mime became a fairy type. I'm like, I still like him, but not as much. That's a little bit of a thing, but this has been a bit of a minute here. But yeah, that's me talking about Pokemon and all that. I don't know. You think there should be a new type? What new types do you want? Could Ampharos become a light type? Could we retcon some of this stuff? I think they should have retconned more. That's what I talked about in the other videos. We could have had a couple more steel and dark types mined from Gen 1 to become Gen 2. Porygon maybe, steel type. I don't know, did I go over the steel type potentials? I know I went over some of the dark ones. Like Muk and Fearow. I know a lot of people with Gengar. My Gengar didn't need to be poisoned, but yeah. Did I mine the steel ones? Did I go into those? I don't know if there's too many from Gen 1 that could have became steel. I think I said Kingler in the video. And you don't really need to. Cloyster, I think was another one I said, but yeah. But a lot of typing can be switched around when you look at them. You start to realize, like, it's so interchangeable. Just because it lives in one layer is very appearing as one thing doesn't mean it has to be that type. Like one of my favorite Pokemon is Sudowoodo because it's petrified wood, so it's a rock type. I'll always remember using an ember on it. It's not very effective. Like, what do you mean? I'll just keep going and going. So at some point I have to stop. So yeah, what new types do you want to see? You want to see a light type, an alien type, a robot type, sound, wind? What else do they not have? I'm trying to think. Like dinosaur, undead. No, I guess they have ghosts. They don't need undead. Radioactive. Could radioactive be a type? Could we put Nuke Ranger from Mighty Max? Nuke Ranger. Get nuked. Nuclear could be a type, right? Alright. Well, whatever it is, at the end of the day, I'm not your type.